Welcome, adventurers! You've made it to the Wind Down, the live stream at the end of the Geekverse. It's a chill place to hang out here as the sun sets on another day. We're here to have a little chat, reflect on the day's successes, and prepare for a better tomorrow. So settle in with your favorite beverage this evening.
May I tempt you with a cup of chamomile?
Why, thank you, Dory. I would love a mug of tea this evening, but perhaps you would rather have some coffee, though I do recommend a decaf this late in the evening. Or perhaps maybe a cold brew is more your style.
Oh, no thank you, Dory. A little red wine. For me, Isaac.
Sounds like an excellent choice, Gandalf. Whatever you want, it's yours. Could I offer you a bourbon, a martini, an old-fashioned, or something perhaps a little stronger? Ugh. Well, I mean, if that's really your thing, then okay, but I hope we can find something a bit better than that.
Romulan ale? Why, Bones, you know this is illegal.
I only use it for medicinal purposes.
All right, now we're talking. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Welcome to my home. Come one, come all, writers, artists, sculptors, storytellers, board gamers, streamers, dungeon masters, fans of sci-fi, fantasy, geeks of all kinds. Whatever your fandom, you have a place here. For soon it will be time for another long rest so that we can recover our hit points, our spells, and our abilities, so we'll be ready to fight on for another day tomorrow. But first, we all need a little time to reflect. Because you've survived another long, perilous day of wilderness treks, dungeoneering, and random encounters. And that's worth celebrating. Let's tell the tale. It's time for the Wind Down. It will improve your life. It really will. Give it a chance. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Oh, hey Siri, stop that timer. That was a timer making sure that I knew to go live. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Has it been a good day? I hope it has been. Let's change the focus on the camera. There we go. There we go. Whoa. Kind of crazy difference, huh? Welcome, welcome. I hope you have had a wonderful day today. I've had a good day. I was up and at them very early this morning. Attacking the day, making stuff happen. And hey, let me show you this. Guess what just showed up? Late breaking today. Like at about maybe at 6 o'clock this evening. This box right here. This is the manufacturer's prototype of the action figures. Right here. So I am extremely excited about these. I am looking forward to opening these up. And I have almost opened them a few different times. But I'm not. Because this is what we're going to be working on tomorrow on the morning grind. So tomorrow I'm going to open these up and you will see them for the first time with me on the morning grind tomorrow. So these are the Rabbit Knight fully articulated prototypes from the manufacturer. I was so thrilled. I let them know that it did arrive, but I will open it up tomorrow morning for the first time. So that's the morning grind tomorrow. I am extremely excited about that. We should definitely breathe. Take a moment to take a breath. Let's get a bit more fog in here tonight. There we go. And let's breathe in, deep inhale and complete exhale. We do that twice. I did decide to have a little bit of red wine tonight because it's been such a long day. So I poured a little bit of red wine. So I hope that you are feeling extremely happy with your day. I hope that it did everything that you wanted it to do. And around here, there are only two options. The two options are good day, GD, put GD in the chat, or you can say WIT, and WIT, wit, that means will improve tomorrow. I'm going GD in the chat, GD in the chat. That means it was a good day. Now, some of our esteemed colleagues here on the Wind Down have been saying that we shouldn't just separate GD and wit. Sometimes you may have had a good day, but you're still going to improve it tomorrow because we want to head to a great day. And I think that's a great great thing. So you could be both GD and wit. That's fine. I think it's great. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer your questions. But we are here to celebrate victories. So if you had a great victory today, if you want to talk about it, then put it in the chat. We will all celebrate victories this evening. Did you have a random encounter? Did something strange happen to you today that you want to talk about? Nobody else will listen. Well, put your random encounter in the chat. We'll talk about it. We'll see what's going on. Random encounters during the day are a lot of fun. I'll share how my day went. Let me come over here to the auxiliary camera. Here I am. Where is a pen? I should have a pen around here. Here's one. So, CTA. If you were CTA, it means that you heeded the call to adventure in the morning. And that means that you were up at the time you wanted to get up. And then you got to working on the project that you wanted to work on. So I was CTA today. That means that was 2 days straight. MBR. So I'm going to say that I was CTA in the chat. CTA in the chat. The next item is where you MBR. And MBR means did you move your big rocks? If you've been with us in the morning, on the morning grind, we have been talking about how we need to move our big rocks. So our big rocks during the day. So I had this morning, I was a little bit different this morning because I was taking and picking up all of the different pieces of paper that I had and my parts of index cards. And I was saying, I'm trying to make sure that I cover everything that I haven't covered in previous days. And I didn't cover all of it. So I wasn't MBR. I found some methodologies that I needed to work on as far as the methodology, as far as I think creating thumbnails, because getting stuff up on YouTube has been difficult. You may have noticed today that I posted some YouTube videos, some clips. There was a clip of the wind down, and there was also a clip of the morning grind that came out today. So you may have seen that. I'm trying to get more of those out. So expect the 12:30, 2:30, 4:30 slots, if I can, to be filled with new stuff that is coming out. So I didn't get them all done, but I got them close. I was not AF because I just opened up a little bit of wine tonight, so I did break that. Watch rings. Let me show you that I did hit my watch rings. It's kind of a slog today, but I made it happen. Watch rings taken care of. So I was WR. I'm going to put WR in the chat. Watch rings. WR in the chat. WR in the chat. Got that. And then my diet. I have been trying to eat, I don't know what it is that you would call this. I've been very interested in the carnivore diet. I had friends who did paleo and were extremely successful with paleo. But then there are other friends who've been successful with this keto diet. So I guess kind of I've been close to carnivore, but like I found that this was a keto wine. So it's okay to have a glass in the evenings if you're on the keto diet. It would obviously not be carnivore. I don't know. Oh, BGD is here. Welcome, BGD. Welcome. But nonetheless, as far as I was concerned, I ate what I wanted to eat and adhered to my diet. So I'm going to check that right there. I'm going to hit 2 right there. I have been working on the different ways to clump our time together. Whoop. And I believe that a few days ago, I said I should lay out 18 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 18 blocks, right? So I'm live streaming, so I'm still on YouTube right now. But if I hit those 18 blocks, then I can add more blocks to them. Kind of like how we talk about with the index card methods with your big rocks. If you hit your big rocks, then you can add more. I wanted to be sure that I wasn't missing my targets. And if I hit the targets, then I can add more, right? If I hit my targets, I can add more, which is what's been happening. I passed my target. So I am going to, where is my blue check mark? Today was another blue check mark day. I hope that your day was also blue check mark. Hope it went very well for you. So that's what's happening there. I hope your day was equally as good. What's been going on? Feel like we need a little fog. You have something to talk about this evening? I'm wondering, I may be able to pull up one of my topics for a thought this evening. I was looking at my list of things that I was thinking about today earlier. We could talk about one of them, unless you have questions. Let me bring up my notes. Why don't we talk about experiencing franchises in different ways? I think that would be a good thing to talk about tonight. Because I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this for a few days, or a few weeks. The idea about, well, we experience stories and we experience worlds through a variety of different media, books or audiobooks. Theirs are similar but different. Books, audiobooks, movies, television shows, board games, role-playing games. We kind of experience all of these different IPs, worlds, properties, whatever you want to call them, through a variety of different methods. And based on what one of those happened to come out first, we kind of call that the source material, right? We say, well, here's the source. Maybe it was a comic book first, or maybe it was a novel first, or maybe whatever. And then we have this idea, which I think is a good one, that the following iterations should respect the source material. Now, there are going to be deviations in the source material and how that source material is represented based on the new media that it's in. For instance, you're going to do some things differently in a movie or a TV show than you would do in a novel. You will do some things different in a graphic novel than you will in a novel. And that's part of what I called with David when we were doing this kind of thing. We were calling storytelling in multiple media. All right. We've got stories that we want to tell, and we might want to tell some of the stories in multiple media. So some of the stories are going to have to be adjusted because what works in one form, one media or medium doesn't work in another medium, right? And of course, we encountered that between stories and pen and paper RPGs, but it's encountered as you're translating across all of them. But I think that there is this idea of whatever the core essence is of that media, of that property, of that world, that people who are fans of it are looking to be maintained across multiple media. When we were talking about translating The Lord of the Rings from novel format to Peter Jackson's movie trilogy, okay, there are definitely things that were going to change as a result of that. You can't do everything. And, in that instance, I was very happy with that iteration. Novels to movies. There were some things that didn't work like I wanted them to work. But even those things, or didn't happen the way that I wanted them to happen, or didn't quite look the way that I wanted them to look, even though as far as the look goes, I was generally very positive on it. But even with those things, that, I wish had been different, about 80% of those things, I go, oh, I understand why they made those changes, because we're moving from novels and older novels. We're moving from novels to movies. And so even though, I really wish I had seen the interpretation of the original, I understand why those changes were made, and so I accept them. And I think that's a great way to be. Now, there's still about 20% that I'm like, I don't know why they went off on that. But I don't like to dwell on that part. I like to dwell on the part that I liked. And then there's the edge that's like, well, I would have liked it for this to be different, but I understand why they did it because we're trying to move to a new media. BGD says, you are correct. I love the graphic novels and films overlap. I love that graphic novels and films overlap in their aspects of storytelling so closely compared to, say, prose novels and films. Right, yes. Brianna and I have talked about that quite a bit, about what sort of story structures and what kinds of things work in different media more closely. And you're talking about graphic novels, perhaps being able to translate more closely to film than if you did a prose novel and film or something like that. Right? Definitely. I think you're right. But what I hope for out of any particular new iteration of a story or a property or a franchise or whatever you want to call it, when it enters a new medium, is that the people who appreciated the original medium, whatever that was, look at the new one and go, oh, well, I got to share that with people. I got to share that with other people. Because, like, for instance, there will be people who will get into a franchise or a property based on a movie who never read the books, right? I guess this is the classic example. So there are people who were fans of the books. And then what do you want when those people who were fans of the books watch the movie? I think I would want those book fans to be extremely positive and to also be fans of the movies, assuming they're reasonable people. And you do have to manage that expectation as far as your marketing, I think, goes. But we could talk about that in a moment. But as far as reasonable people go who understand that there are differences in storytelling in different media, and that we had the novel version of this, and now we're about to have the movie version of this, that you still want all of those people who were fans of the books to love the movie and to say, hey, you know what? I really like this IP. I really like this franchise. I really like this world. I know people who will never read these books. It's just not their thing, but who will watch movies. And so I want to recommend this movie to them because this was a good enough and potentially great, but at least good enough adaptation of the source material from the movie and from the book and put into this movie, that if you haven't ever read the movie or read the book, then you can watch this movie, you can get involved with this world, this franchise, or this IP and enjoy it. Now, it may be your gateway back to the movies, to the books. That could certainly be the case. But in other situations, people may only enjoy that. But that's what my goal would be. I mean, I always like looking for situations where maybe I haven't been part of the original IP, because you can't be part of the original everything. That's just not possible. Everybody comes in and out of different IPs or properties and worlds with different types of media. And everyone has their favorites for their favorite worlds and things like that. But if I know that somebody really likes something, and then here's the movie or the TV show that's coming out or something like that, and the people who really liked the other medium go, oh, wow, that was fantastic. You should totally watch this. Then I pay attention. Then I really pay attention. And I think that's what the goal should be. BGD says, someone who writes a book is completely free. Budget constraints, practical limitations, and the demands of other people all go away. Compare that to making a major studio motion picture. Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of those things. And George R.R. Martin talked about that. I've seen him talking in interviews when he's talking about writing for TV. I think he was mainly talking about TV, but the budget constraints that are all involved in that, and that he intentionally, when he said, all right, I'm going to write the Game of Thrones book or series, or however he conceptualized it originally, he was like, I'm going to write this in such a way that my imagination is unconstrained by something like a production budget, because I can do that when I'm writing a book. And then he talked about the things that immediately began to go away as soon as people started to try to adapt that to screen. And he said, I remember him saying that the first thing that always goes away is the horses. Like, there have been several battles that are on horseback in the Song of Ice and Fire trilogy. And he said, as soon as a TV studio gets a hold of it, they say, do these people really have to be on horses? Because in order to bring in horses and do all of that, so that's one of the first things that goes away. And also, like, does this scene really have to be at night? Maybe it can be during the day, right? But that's one of those things that if I look at something and I go, okay, this didn't change the core of the property and it didn't change the core of the idea. It did kind of change some of the particulars of what happened here, because instead of Ned Stark and Jaime Lannister having their initial battle on horseback at night, wasn't it even in the rain? It may have even been in the rain. We're going to have this battle on horseback at night in the rain. Well, that's going to be extremely expensive to shoot, and you can just write that. But if you say, all right, well, okay, what if they were not on horseback and it was during the day and it was not raining and it was outside this brothel instead, like it was represented in the television? Well, that's a lot cheaper. It gets it done. And as long as it doesn't, or as long as it preserves, now you can argue, I suppose people could argue different ways as far as this particular example, but I'm just saying, as long as it preserves the core part of what makes that element of the story, and that story overall, then fans should accept it if you're reasonable and you do understand the kinds of constraints that BGD was just talking about, right? And then go, oh man, that was fantastic. Let's talk more about that, right? And let's talk about that and get more people involved in this IP, this world, and it should grow as the result. It should grow as the result. The complete negative side of that would be if the people who are fans of the original property completely reject it, and so don't proselytize to other people to try to bring more people into the property, right? So, that's my philosophy of that. We all can't be the fans of the original property of everything. I mean, ideally, we all might, and find our way back to the original property after encountering different iterations. But I want to be fans of the derivative iterations in different media that the original fans are also fans of, and find acceptable interpretations and iterations of that world. That's how we grow. So that's one of the things I was thinking about today. I was trying to spend a lot of time thinking about stories today because I've got a meeting with Brianna tomorrow. I got to talk more about stories tomorrow. And I've got a much larger meeting on Friday. So I got to get these worlds done. I've got my stories to work on. But I've got to work on some RPGs. Remember, when I started the morning grind, I kind of started it with the idea that we would be doing part of it, RPG development, and I need to get a logo for my RPG system so that we can talk about the direction that I'm going after all of our study. I had actually a fantastic meeting with one of the members of our community today. He's wanted to meet with me for a little while. I won't say who it is because he may not want me to say. I don't know. But he'd reached out to me for a little while. We had a great meeting today, and we talked about rules development. Matt, hello, Matt. Wonderful. Good to see you. Hi. I hope everything is going fantastic with you. It says Dragon Strike shipped. I purchased it off eBay. You found a Dragon Strike and drop shipped it? Merry Christmas? Wait, what are you saying? Are you saying that Wait, what are you saying, Matt? You found one for you? Or you found a Dragon Strike? We apparently the Dragon Strike is just a fantastic, like a super popular game around here. I like Hero Quest and Dragon Strike. I played both of them. It's for me. It's for me. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'll put it to good use. I will put it to good use. We'll try it out with some online gameplay here, and see how it goes, because apparently it's very popular, both Hero Quest and Dragon Strike. And I don't think Dragon Strike gets covered enough. So thank you so much. Tracking in Discord. Oh, I haven't been in Discord in a little while. Thank you. All right, I will check that out. Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you. I really appreciate it. We will open it up. We will take a look at it here on the stream. We will put it to great use. Thank you. I hope your day went well. I hope you had a great day. there any other thoughts on? I'm very excited about that, Matt. You got me. I think. Thank you so much. You got me flustered thinking about that. Thank you. Are there any other thoughts that people have on the interpretation of different IP to different media? I think about that especially with like video games. When I'm watching Gandalf, there was some type of Lord of the Rings video game that came by my. I don't know what feed it was, probably YouTube or maybe it was Facebook or Instagram. I don't know, probably Instagram. And it was this, Gandalf, I guess, going through Moria or something like that. And he is just blowing things away with magic spells, which doesn't exactly on that level communicate what I would think about Gandalf. But on the other hand, okay, we have a completely different media. It kind of looked like a Diablo kind of game. And, I was watching, my brother sent me one of my nephews playing Diablo for the first time. And he was saying, I bet I found my gamer. And he was really excited about, okay, this is what my shield looks like. He's young and he's walking around trying to talk to people and things like that. So it kind of looked like a Lord of the Rings Diablo game. And if you're trying to reformulate Lord of the Rings for a Diablo style game, well, then you got to be like blowing magic away. The players are going to be expecting that. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I would try it, but it's like I think if you tell me this is a Diablo-style Lord of the Rings game, then I'm going to be expecting things like that. But I wonder if the Diablo-style Lord of the Rings game is actually the best interpretation of Lord of the Rings. It could still be great. It could still be great if I'm allowing for that particular media, but I don't know. BGD says, I think that for genre storytelling projects, regardless of the medium of the source, what shores them up as they are translated to new media is the what-if conceit that is central to the narrative. And then we got an expansion. If the idea within the story that is original, unique, and interesting, if it helps the story translate well from one medium if the idea within the story that is original, unique, and interesting, it helps the story translate well from one medium to the other. Okay, I got what you're saying. Yeah, there's got to be this core kernel of something that makes you love it. Because I could see potentially really liking a Diablo style Lord of the Rings game. It's not exactly what I want out of Middle Earth, and I would have to go into it understanding that, okay, Gandalf's gonna be blowing away fireballs and stuff like that, but if it does everything else well, then I think I would accept it. I would have to try it, even though there may be better ways to adapt Lord of the Rings to TV or to a video game. Gold Star H Gamer says, for me, as long as the adaptation adds a new level to the storytelling in some way and doesn't feel as though it has taken anything from the original source material, I'm happy. Well, that's a great point. That, okay, we might have added or expanded something in the genre and media that we are working on. But, yeah, I think the idea of not taking anything away is a great one. That we don't want whatever the world is or the IP or the whatever it is to feel lesser for having been translated into a new medium. I really like that idea. We don't want that. We don't want to feel like something has been taken away. And arguably, in some cases, we do feel that way. I'm talking about in general. That, oh, gee, this has actually lessened something because of its translation into this new media. As long as we are adding and expanding with the understanding of the new media, maybe that's a great way to go. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, Nose Play says, I had a great day too. Thanks for all the incredible content. Oh, you're very welcome. Really helped inspire a bunch of us to keep at it. Well, thank you. I am so glad. I hope so. I needed to inspire myself to keep at it. That was part of the reason why I've started all this live streaming, is because I needed to inspire myself to keep attacking everything that I am trying to do. And so I thought that if I do that and I construct this kind of show or these live streams to do that, hopefully it will help other people as well. And so I hope it does. And I hope that we all get to where we're trying to go and create whatever it is that we are trying to create. We got a lot of people. I get DMs too there's the stuff in the Discord server. In fact, I just put out the Discord server in case you are not on the Discord server. Let me grab that link so I don't forget. So we've got great people in the Discord server, but I also get DMs from people who are making really cool things, from trying to write scripts or trying for novels or scripts for films, or trying to do a novel, or trying to do something for a TV show, or trying to do a board game or a TV. I've heard from a lot of people. So there are a lot of neat people who are around and part of this community who are trying to make stuff happen. And I really like that. And that's a big part of this. I didn't want this to be a whole YouTube channel about things that we don't like and things that are going wrong. We need constructive stuff. I might try tomorrow. Brianna and I might watch a movie tomorrow. I'm not sure. But on the other hand, I might try streaming a video game tomorrow, just as a test. I've got several different options here that I think would be neat to check out, because I realized, there are some video games that I would like to check out. But I just don't, even though I'm primarily in the tabletop space. But there are video games I'd like to check out. I made this list: Crusader Kings, Darkest Dungeon, Diablo 3. Now, I've already played Diablo 3, but I would play that one again. Civilization, Dragon Lord. That's the alchemy game that I was talking about. Was that yesterday on the morning grind? I found an emulator for it, and so I'm thinking that was it. It's a clunky game, but it's a classic game, and that's what got me so interested in alchemy. Has anyone played Vaxanadu? That was an NES game, and I found an emulator for it. My brother and I played a lot of Vaxanadu. Did anyone here play that? Also, actually, this one's sci-fi, but I'll put this on my note. But that's okay, nothing wrong with sci-fi. Guardian Legend. Played a lot of Guardian Legend. The original Zelda, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I'm thinking about these different video games. Like I said, even though I'm not really in that space that much, like I backed Kingdom Come Deliverance on Kickstarter and I never got to play it. I was so fascinated with the idea at the time because I wanted a medieval strategy game or medieval role-playing game that didn't have the fantasy element. And that was Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I got it, but I never played it. I've never played Elden Ring either. So there are some ones that I would at least want to try out. So for some reason, I'm thinking that might be a Tuesday evening thing. Brianna and I might be trying to watch a movie together, doing a virtual event tomorrow, because we've got one to study. But I'm kind of thinking that Tuesday nights might need to be gaming streaming. I can do that now under the Geekverse umbrella, I feel like. I feel more liberated by that. Matt says, I feel like Star Wars games are bad at showing the training to become a Master Jedi. Probably, yeah, I would agree with that. Let me go on with your thought here. You learn to use the Force in the first 5 minutes, and then you're a master the rest of the game. Very unrealistic. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody who I was talking about stories with on something that's very close to this subject that has to do with, of course, you've got this character who is a novelist, could be a novelist, but a novice of some kind, whether this is like a Jedi Knight or other kind of warrior or whatever, and then they're tutored by this other person. And I never like it when that teaching goes by too quickly, because I hear that, I feel that in other things as well. You're talking about in games, the training to become a Jedi Master. But, you could even give that kind of critique to most Star Wars movies and also some stories. I was reading the story of Percival, who was a Knight of the Round Table, and he gets to Camelot. He has no knowledge of knighthood or anything like that. And he's mentored by this other character who I cannot remember his name right now, but this other knight. And the idea is that he will this older knight will turn Percival from just this guy who rolled up to Camelot into the perfect knight. But he basically does it overnight. Percival, yes, he connects with him that evening, and then, a couple of days later, I mean, as far as Percival's riding off again, he becomes the perfect knight. I like for those kinds of things to take longer too, because if they take longer, they're earned more and they're more appreciated. So I hear you, but that may be another. I mean, we've got some of that problem with Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy. We've got that problem with Rey in the sequel trilogy. It wouldn't surprise me that also manifests in games. And sometimes it makes sense. I think if you're talking about movies for the storytelling purpose, that you can forgive it for the purposes of storytelling, but it still doesn't make a lot of sense. Matt says, you like pen and paper, good games to play on your phone. You like pen and paper, good game. Oh, no, I have not played that. Is something I should check out? Pen and paper for an iPhone? On iPhone? I'll check that out. Gold Star says, I recently tried the Game of Thrones RPG myself, and Simon had no idea there was one, and it was great. Really? Gold Star says, sorry, meant to say made by Simon, a board game company. I recently tried the Game of Thrones RPG made by Simon. That was made by Simon? I did know there was a Game of Thrones RPG. Well, okay, no, wait a minute. Let me see what I've got here, because I've thought about looking at this on the morning grind. Game of Thrones. Okay, actually, what I think I saw. Okay, what I have, this is interesting. Let's see if it's something different. What I have is a Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game, because there is probably a distinction there, because George R.R. Martin can still license a Song of Ice and Fire, but he can't license Game of Thrones because that's HBO, right? So that's why, like, Simon did the A Song of Ice and Fire battle game, because that was licensed through George R.R. Martin, and there's nothing to do with any HBO imagery on that. So the game I was thinking about looking at on Morning Grind is this one. I'll just go ahead and share the screen so you can see what it is. I want to look at this one in more detail. Right here, A Song of Ice and Fire. But I don't think this is Simon. Oh, this is Green Ronin. Yeah, that's what I thought. This one is done by Green Ronin, and it is the Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game. I want to check this one out on the Morning Grind. It has the way you design your adventuring group, I think, is really neat. There may be other parts of it that are too, but as far as an adventuring group and designing your own household, I thought this one was really neat. Is that the one you're talking about, Gold Star? Pen and paper is great. Yeah, iPhone. Okay, I'll check it out. Check out pen and paper on iPhone for role-playing. Okay, so yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, I remember thinking it was pretty neat. So I'll put that on the list, the kind of the short list to look at on the Morning Grind one morning, because I want to dig into it deeper. I remember there being things that I liked about it when I read through it. Yeah. Actually, there are things about it that, there are things I like about it that might want to adapt. BGD says, Star Wars had a ragged transition to the RPG realm. Big hits, big misses. The universe is fascinating and a big draw. But for an RPG to work well, either everyone has to be a Jedi or no one can be. I can see that being a problem. One of the things that I want to look at, I've never gotten deep into this. Now, we did go through one of the RPG boxes, the Star Wars RPG boxes, that was done by Fantasy Flight Games on Morning Grind a few days ago. and I haven't gotten deep into that. I tried to play with my nephews, but it was too complicated. But I do kind of like what it was doing, I think. But I found this right here. These are reprints. I wanted these as a kid before I even really understood what role-playing was, but I just saw these in magazines and was like, oh, that description sounds cool. I really need that game. So this is the reprint of the West End Games Star Wars. Has anybody played these? And this is the source book. So I want to take a look at these and on the morning grind, because I really don't know anything about it. I just took the opportunity to pick those up. So we will look at them. They're on the docket for the morning grind. They're on the docket. Probably an old school Flash. Oh, VGD says nice. Oh, you played those? Okay, well then if you see us talking on the morning grind live and you're available, I'd love to have you, because I found that those things, the morning grinds go so much better when there's somebody who has like intimate knowledge or has played something to help us out or direct us, because I have not played those. I mean, some of the things we're talking about I've played, so I can guide us through, but other things I'm looking at for the first time, so it's nice. But yeah, see, I was talking about this initial idea about Jedi with somebody. It may have been Drake on one of the General Geekdom shows, and he was saying, see, and this is one of the things that I'm willing to give up. Like talking about transferring stories from one medium to another, that, at some eras, Jedi are supposed to be rare, but what is it that players want to play? They want to play Jedi. So in a movie or the stories, the novels or the graphic novels or something, you could have the rare Jedi Knights, and that would be fine. But then when you get to an RPG, or you get to even something like a massively multiplayer online video game, the role-playing game, but in the digital realm, what do people want to play? Well, everybody wants to play a Jedi. Well, okay, that does kind of screw around with the rarity. You're talking about power levels right here, and I have those issues with Jedi as well, that if you're just talking about novels, you're talking about movies, you can put plot constraints in there to kind of constrain their power, because they can be extremely overpowered. And sometimes they're rather arbitrary plot things that go in. But you can't really quite do that quite as well. I guess it can be done, but it's not quite as easy when you're talking about a whole game environment. And everybody wants to play the cool thing. To me, that's one of those things that just kind of goes along with the adaptation to a new media. Well, if we're going to be playing a Star Wars game, what are all the players going to want to play? They're probably all going to want to play Jedi. So this is Star Wars adapted for the RPG, where people get to play Jedi a lot more. I guess to me, that's one of those things that gets adapted to the different medium. Because I can see, hey, we've got this really neat special thing in the movie that only one person is. But as soon as we get to the gaming table, that's what everyone's going to want to be. Although, I did think, and I didn't dig into all of the different boxes, but I did seem to think that Fantasy Flight did a good job with that, as far as having the different boxes go, that we are focused on different things. We're focused on, like, I've been cleaning up around here, so I'm not exactly sure where I put my boxes. But, like, this is Star Wars, The Edge of Rebellion. So you're just talking about rebels. You're not talking about Force users. There was another one that was based on Force users. There's another one that's based on, like, just all smugglers or something like that. And I think that works. I think that's a really great way to go, because when you look at, let's do an all smuggler kind of campaign, there's a whole bunch of ideas. Or we're just talking about the rebel commandos. Of course, that took a tremendous amount of work. And Fantasy Flight has the resources to do that, to develop several different RPGs that focus on different parts of Star Wars. That was a great idea, I thought, but it takes a lot of development effort. Ryan says, good evening. Good evening, Ryan. Great to see you. Glad to have you here. Matt says, Jedi are rare, but people with Force ability are not as rare. if there was just a Jedi for Dummies book available, I guess they don't have to Google. I guess they don't have Google in a galaxy far away. Right. Yeah, that's another way to go with it. People with Force ability, I would really hate to even bring up midichlorians. I don't like to do that. But right, yeah, that you can have Force sensitivity and not have outright Jedi. That's another way to handle it. BGD says, Rogue One showing how interesting the Star Wars universe can be on its own outside of the Jedi-Sith conflict or the Skywalker saga, Vader's cameo aside. The Andor series does the same thing. Yes, and I enjoyed Rogue One. I have not seen Andor, but I'm going to. So we've got a BGD is pro Andor. I think that one of the reasons that I want to see Andor, ordinarily, I kind of checked out of Star Wars a little bit, actually more than a little bit. I kind of checked out. And so Andor really hadn't been on my radar for something to come and watch. My Facebook feed, you may have heard me say this before, but my Facebook feed is generally full of people who are very positive about current cultural stuff in geekdom, like TV shows or movies that comes out. It seems like the people I connect to there are very positive about stuff. When I go through my YouTube feed, it seems like YouTube shows me a bunch of people who are very negative about those same things. So I see both of those sides. But one of the things that's fascinated me about Andor, like I said, I might have just skipped it, but everybody on Facebook is still very positive about Andor. Yeah. So I get all of that positivity from Andor. And it seems like people on YouTube are like split 50-50. Like there's a lot of opinions on YouTube about Andor. Some people still don't like it. Some people think it's just absolutely fantastic. Some people are like, well, it's great, but it only gets great if you can endure like 3 or 4 episodes or things like that. So there seems to be a whole bunch of variety of opinion on Andor. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to watch Andor because I'm gonna have to make up my own mind, see what it's all about. So actually Andor has ended up intriguing me. So, Matt agrees here. So Matt agrees about the Andor. I'm gonna have to watch it, see what it's all about. Sounds like fun. I mean, and of course, I like it when things are great. I like it when things are great. So if that's, some people are saying it's the best Star Wars since Rogue One, and that would be fantastic. I would, then in that case, I've got to watch it because I like watching things and enjoying things, or I like enjoying the things that I watch. I don't hate watch things. If I don't like something, I just stop and we move on. So it would be fantastic if I watch Andor and I'm like, yes, this is great. I love that. The movie Brianna has never seen Eyes Wide Shut, and so that's the one that we might end up watching tomorrow. But if we don't, I'm probably going to try out a video game stream tomorrow. Matt says, if you like Rogue One, Andor is good. If you didn't like Rogue One, then you probably won't like it. Personally, I thought Rogue One was awesome. Well, I'm pro Rogue One. Yeah, I'm pro Rogue One. So okay, so then I should be in the Andor camp. That's good to know. I mean, that'd be great. It would be great to have more Star Wars that I really enjoy and like. All right. Let's see. Let me look at my list, but I think that those were my big topics. I'm still trying to come up with, I was typing out some rules for Discord. I really need to put some guidance there. I think I'm coming up with some good ones, though. I need to put that out there. Yeah, maybe that's about all we need to cover tonight. I'm still going to talk about knighthood as the feminine imposition upon the masculine one night, and then necromancy and healing magic. Yeah, so there's more to talk about. I'm very glad you were hanging out with me tonight, though. Tomorrow, we will be unboxing those action figures and those prototypes and seeing what they're like. I'm very excited about that. Like I said, don't try to do action figures if you're just trying to build something. But, I'm excited for another reason because the story I had been working on for Tales of Ravivania that's kind of been rejected on the basis that needs to be completely rewritten had to do with their mythic history, the mythic history of the rabbits. But all the action figures are kind of from what I call the main timeline. And so these action figures, I've been moving the story into what I call the main timeline, and all these action figures are from the main timeline. BGD says, excited to see the figures. Well, we'll open them up tomorrow. I hope they aren't like shattered. I guess that's the disadvantage to doing them online. I hope they aren't like, shattered into a million pieces, but it looks like they were wrapped up well. So hopefully we don't just open up a box to a million pieces. But it should also be that these should be out of the same material that they should be made out of. Because the reason my prototypes over here, the original prototypes, are so fragile is because they're just 3D printed out of resin, which makes them extremely fragile. I had one drop and it shattered into pieces. I got to put it back together. But these should be out of the actual material, about like, toy plastic. There's a couple of different kinds of plastic that are involved. So they shouldn't just shatter. So hopefully we won't have that problem. They're not like fragile resin. They should be the actual material. Should be. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I've had a fantastic time tonight. We will be live tomorrow with the morning grind in the morning, and I am going to leave you,
Good Night
as
Sword,
I always do,
written
with
by
Good Night Sword.
E.H. Robinson, illustrated
A brief look
by Adam
into
M.
the tales of
Bachman.
Rapavania. You'll see some of the
Narrated
knights in
by
the
Brianna
story
De Silva.
that are
Part of the tales
part of our
of Rapavania.
plush toys and action figures. So some of the characters are in here. It's exciting. We got a book. Soon we'll have action figures. Well, soon. It'll be a while. But I got prototypes. Good night, everybody.
Good Night Sword. Good Night Gourd. Good night, guards who keep us all safe. Good night, dagger. And the iron hauberk. Good night, cheese. Good night, keys. Good night, elm. And good night, helm. Good night, squire. And good night, liar. Good night, shield. And good night to the lance only the gallant wield. Good night, banner. And good night, jewel. Good night, gruel. Good night, knights. And good night to the old soldier who says time's been cruel. Good night, maiden fair, whose favor I bear. Good night, rabbits everywhere.